Okay, hang on. All right, so Rob can't be here today, so I'm Kathy Rentz. I'm just leading the hymns today. And we're going to start, as usual, with our gathering hymn, Blue Boat Home, Teal Hymnal, 1046.
You okay? Good morning. Just a couple of announcements as we create and build our connection to each other and settle into worship. A few people to come up. Could Nancy and Charles and Emily please come on up and get ready to do your announcements. Also, they're going to be down. If you'll go down, you can go to the down there. And I think Emily and Charles also had announcements, if you want to come on up and get ready. And another announcement is that on May 3rd for our forum, Jeannie Nightingale has arranged for Larry Falcon, who's a former director of environmental and sustainability, also a member of St. John's. He's going to be talking about home energy, electrification, the geothermal. This is going to be really cool. So just want to make sure y'all are aware of that. And also May 3rd has a lot going on. Please look at your order of service. We have a flower communion. We have a concert. We have amazing things. Please look at that and just get a handle on what we all have going on. And then Nancy, if you'll go ahead with yours.
Today to take pictures of individuals and families. It's your last chance for a while. We only do this a couple times a year, so line up. Actually, we want to stress that new members, new friends, visitors, regular visitors, please come, have your pictures taken. And It does take Stan a couple minutes to set up after the service. He'll be in the chapel, go get coffee, then come in and have your picture taken. It only takes a minute. Thanks.
Just reporting to you all, yesterday I attended with Tim Kraus from First Unitarian Universalist Church here, an all-day meeting of Unitarian Universalist Justice Ohio held in Columbus. About 30 people from around the state attended to gather and to share their lessons from their work towards social justice in Ohio. We heard Rachel Coyle, Policy Director at Honesty for Ohio Education, explain how to advocate at the State House for justice agenda in our world here in Ohio. We also heard from Pablo De Jesus, Executive Director of Washington, D.C.-based Unitarian Universalist for Social Justice. That's our organization in D.C., who also participated in discussions. Both spoke on the urgent need to create a democracy that prioritizes the needs of the people and dismantles systems that benefit only the rich and powerful. If you want to hear more, I'll be out in the entryway with more information.
I'm here as a member of the the leadership committee, excuse me. A very exciting announcement. Posted on the board in Kroll Pfeiffer are the bios and pictures of the 8 candidates who will be running for positions to lead the church as board members, fund members, and new leadership committee members. Please, after the service, go and read the bios of these 8 wonderful people, and thank you all 8 of you for agreeing to serve the church. It's very important. The election will be a month from now, Sunday, May 31st, after the meeting. Very, very important. Everyone is invited to attend, but in order to vote, you have to have been a member for 60 days. But we invite everybody to come. It's a very exciting event. We will also be presenting the budget and the covenant. So please go and check those in Kroll Pfeiffer.
Announcement, we have an RE ad hoc meeting after the service in Rosa Parks. Singing bowl. Joetta and I want to explain the chalice that some of you might be wondering about. So, start with, why do we light a chalice? A flame within a chalice is the primary symbol of the Unitarian Universalist faith tradition. Many UU congregations kindle a flaming chalice in gatherings and worship. Hans Deutsch, an Austrian artist, first brought together the chalice and the flame as a Unitarian symbol during his work with the Unitarian Service Committee during World War II. To Deutsch, the image had connotations of sacrifice and love. Unitarian Universalists today have many different interpretations of the flaming chalice, including the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope.
Many of you know this, that St. John's is a member congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, commonly known as UUA, right? So each year, the UUA calls congregations to attend what's known as a General Assembly, also known as
GA.
GA, right. Several thousand UUs from around the country and the world participate in GA in person and online, gathering for worship, governance, and learning opportunities. And some of you have been, how many people here have been to GA? Raise your hand. Look at that, over the years. Great, that's fantastic. So it's no surprise I know to those who've been there, and to the rest of you, probably not either, that during GA, a chalice is lit. But not just any chalice, it's this chalice. Yes.
The UUA bought this chalice for the 2003 Boston General Assembly. The artist Mordecai Roth lit the chalice in 2012 at the General Assembly in Phoenix and later passed away in 2013. Roth created his two chalice designs, the classic, this one, and the Tree of Life in wax, and had a foundry cast them. So there are now about 200 of them in the world.
So similar to the Olympic flame, the UUA's chalice travels each year from Boston, which is where the office of the UUA is, to the location of General Assembly. This year, Rev. Jenn was able to receive the chalice from a colleague while she was at a conference last week, and bring it to share with us this morning as it makes its way to GA 2026 in Louisville. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit about General Assembly, okay? Because I can't help it. Denominational affairs, one of my gigs. General Assembly 2026 is titled Meet the Moment, Together Everywhere, and it will unfold in two parts during June. From Sunday, June 14th to the 16th, delegates will engage in fully virtual general sessions focused on the business of the association. Programming resumes the following Friday, Saturday, with worship and featured speakers and the Meet the Moment themed programs. The opening program will introduce Meet the Moment as a movement-wide framework that calls Unitarian Universalists to share analysis-building, collective discernment, and faithful action in response to today's shifting cultural, political, and religious realities. One highlight of each year's General Assembly, for those who've been there, you know this, is the Ware Lecture, a treasured tradition that invites prophetic voices to speak to our faith and about our times. This year, the Right Reverend Marianne Budde, who spoke Truth to Power, if you don't know who she is, look it up, Budde, will deliver the 2026 Ware Lecture. Sunday morning worship is the heart of General Assembly, drawing the entire UU community together in a shared spirit. St. John's will live stream that worship here in our sanctuary on June 21st, and you don't want to miss it. It's fabulous. To learn more about GA or how to be a delegate for St. John's, please talk with me. I have on a red scarf. You can spot me today after service, and you can also send me an email. Rev. Jenn?
So this morning, through music, preaching, and ritual, we ground ourselves in our Unitarian Universalist faith to be renewed for the work of justice, compassion, and community in the world. Thank you.
As we light this very special chalice, we cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith presence and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Welcome. It is such a privilege to be up here as part of the service. Good morning on this very sunny Sunday. My name is Mary Lynn Schuster. I'm very pleased to welcome you all to St. John's Unitarian Universalist Church. Each Sunday, we gather in community to seek truth, learn about love, and care for one another. As an official, welcoming congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Association, we honor and value the racial, economic, cultural, age, physical ability, sexual orientation, and gender diversity of our members, friends, and visitors. And a very special welcome to visitors this morning. I invite you to stop by our welcome table in our lobby and also to join us for refreshments and conversation in our fellowship hall after the service. And if you're new here, please look for a yellow or pink Connect card. They should be in the packets in some of the pews. They're also out on the table. And let us know. There are a lot of great things happening at St. John's. Please do review your order of service. You may also, in the TV in the lobby, we have scrolls of what's going on and bulletin boards. We just want to make sure you have a chance to stay connected. Now, please put your phones into church mode, and again, a very warm welcome.
I invite you to join me in reciting our affirmation. This is the mission of our faith, to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands.
Our next hymn is in the Gray Hymnal, number 389, Gathered Here. It's written as a round, so we're going to attempt a very simple round. I'm just going to divide the congregation in half. This side will be group 1, this side will be group 2. And we'll sing it through once in unison. Then group 1 is going to sing Gathered Here in the Mystery of the Hour, and then keep singing. And group 2 is going to come in then at the beginning. Does that make sense? Okay. So Stephen will give us a little introduction, and then we'll sing in unison and sing it twice in a round. And the first group, when you finish, just repeat Spirit, draw near.
Every week, we make time in our service to ground ourselves in what we value. We celebrate and honor our joys and concerns by coming forward to place stones representing all that we carry into the sand of our shared community. If you would like a joy or concern to be read aloud, please leave it on the table. And if you are online, please put it in the chat, and then we will share it and read them from the pulpit. Thank you.
We welcome all that the stones represent for us today, and we light the chalice in the center to represent the light of our beloved community and to welcome in the joys and concerns for those not physically present with us. I have several spoken ones to share with you. Melissa Rowland asked that we announce that her joy is having been voted to be president of the Mid-America UU Conference. And she celebrated her birthday this past Thursday. Speaking of birthdays, I saw one in here about a birthday. Bridget says she would like Rev Jenn to wish her a happy birthday. Happy birthday. It is tomorrow. Jen says she's so proud of Jack and his team for Ohio History Day, 4th in state. And proud of Eleanor for first performance out of school in Annie next week. And while we're rolling on this, Emily Hodges had 3 joys on Friday. She had a big day. She observed what would have been her late husband Andy Wolf's 110th birthday. She closed on selling her condo. And she sold Andy's beloved cello to Isla Finkelstein, the Symphony First Chair cellist. Emily says that, or not Emily, Edie says that Ron had major surgery 2.5 weeks ago. He's slowly recuperating. If anyone would like to call him, he's up to it. That's good to hear. It'll be a surprise to him, but Edie is convinced he's up to it. Yeah. And Mike shares the sorrow of St. Francis closing. Brother, sister, and I attended there. Parents were married there. I'm sorry for that. And it looks like we don't have any online. So I want to invite you into a spirit of prayer meditation with these words by Reverend Laura Horton Ludwig. Take a moment to breathe in to the silence. Our breath is always with us. We can always come back to breath, our anchor, our grounding, our freedom. Spirit of life and love, we are here not just minds and hearts, but bodies too. We human beings, spirit and body joined together, on this day send out a prayer or a wish that every person, every being, may be safe and well in body and spirit. May every person be well. And may we treat every person with respect and kindness and love. On this day, when we consider the connections between our bodies and spirits, we lift up our hope and aspiration that all people will live in freedom to give and guard their bodies as seems best to them, and to exercise their own powers of moral discernment. May we remember that it is especially challenging for those living in poverty to exercise these rights, and may our society support them in every way possible. We say a special prayer for all those who have experienced violence or abuse, or any other form of damage to their being which is so precious. May they know safety and healing. For all of us, may our physical being be a source of delight and well-being as we live in this world. May every being be safe and well in body and spirit. May every person be well. And may we be vessels of compassion for everyone we meet. Amen. I want to invite the kids and anyone who feels called to come forward for the time for all ages. It's sort of a mix of a history story, both old and new. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Olympia, and she had a dream. She dreamed that one day she would grow up to be a minister. But during the 1800s, when she lived, only men were ministers. So it didn't seem likely that Olympia's dream would come true. But she continued to dream. Time passed, and Olympia became a young woman. She wrote a letter to a school that taught people how to be ministers and said she wanted to study there. The school wrote back and told her that wasn't really a good idea. She was a woman. Olympia was crushed. It was like someone had put a giant wall between her and her dream. But then she remembered a story from the Hebrew Bible about a man named Joshua. Joshua was leading the Hebrew people out of the desert into the promised land. And when they arrived, they discovered they had a problem. Somebody else was living there. The Hebrew people were tired, and they just wanted to rest. They had wandered with Moses in the desert for 40 years trying to find a home. After Moses died, Joshua led the people to a beautiful land. But the people of that land didn't want to share with them. They built a giant wall around the city of Jericho and were prepared to fight to keep Joshua's people out. Joshua marched up to the walled city and knocked on the door. "Open the door and let us in," he cried. But the people of the city basically replied, "No, and you can't make us." So Joshua was very sad. The walls of Jericho were very high, and there seemed to be no way his people could enter the city and find a home there. So he went to a quiet spot to pray. As Joshua sat in this quiet spot, he got an idea. In fact, the idea was so crazy, he was pretty sure it came from God. Joshua ran to tell his people, and all the Hebrew people gathered near him to speak. He said, "Let us march around the walls of Jericho and blow our ram's horn." They were quiet for a moment. They were waiting for the rest of the idea. But Joshua stayed silent. Finally, someone said, "And then?" "That's it. That's the plan. Don't you love it? We'll march around the walls of the city once a day for 7 days, and we will blow our ram's horn." Now, most people thought that maybe Joshua had been in the desert too long. But they went along with the idea, because what else were they going to do? For 6 days, they marched around the walls of Jericho, blowing their horns, some of them perhaps feeling a bit confused. But on the 7th day, something incredible happened. As the Hebrew people blew their horns, the walls of Jericho began to rumble and shake. Suddenly, they came tumbling down. Joshua's idea had worked, and the people were free to walk into the promised land. As Olympia remembered the story of Joshua, she began to get her own idea. She decided she would go to that school for ministers and take the classes no matter what someone said. And that's what she did. The men didn't know what else to do when Olympia showed up. They got very nervous and tried to talk her out of her dream, but she wouldn't let anyone put a wall between her and her dream. Finally, they decided they couldn't stop her. She studied very hard and was every bit as smart as the men in the school. And in 1863, Olympia Brown was ordained a Universalist minister. She was one of the first women ministers in America. Olympia's dream came true because she knew that although there is a time to be quiet, sometimes you have to blow your horn before the walls come tumbling down. The end. Do we have any food for the kids to come get? There are a few people out there.
Offering we take each Sunday is an opportunity to recommit to this place and to these people. It is as much a ritual that connects us as singing together, lighting our chalice, or reciting our affirmation. It is a reminder of that form of love we call generosity. It is how we show we believe it is important to worship together and to help our community and say yes to the values of our faith. Stephen, that was delightful. Thank you so much. Our reading today is The Right to Choose by Elizabeth Barish Brown. To begin, to start, to create, to undertake, to grow, to promise, to increase, to generate. All of these are our birthright. As we are created, so may we create. The ability and the choice to create is sacred. To withdraw that chance from any person without their permission would be a violent act, the cutting off of life itself. And yet, as precious is the right to simply not. To end, to terminate, to stop, to discontinue, to rest, to hibernate, to impede, to prevent. Those too are our birthright. For without consent, our ability to create becomes not a blessing, but a burden and an imposition. Without a space for a no, there can be no trustworthy yes. Today we come to this holy place and time, ready to invoke the divine, to make space for the sacred, to co-create community once again. And this too is a choice. You cannot, you may not be coerced into relationship with the holy or with one another. I invite you, I ask you to join us. I respect it if you will not, today or ever. More sacred than any other individual need is choice, the right to know oneself, the right to know what you are ready for, what you need, to stretch when you can, to pause when you will, to know your body and your mind and your spirit better than anyone else, and ultimately to be trusted with the responsibility of your own living. And we invite the choir up.
beautiful as always. Are you a cat person or a dog person? I want to see if you decide to answer every one of these. Are you a Democrat or a Republican? Are you a good witch or a bad witch? Are you pro-choice or pro-life? Many of us are very committed to certain issues or identities, but what happens when we're faced with a situation that challenges our understanding of a deeply held commitment? For me, one such situation came up in college. It was a moonless night, and I was standing with a group of my friends out in front of our dorm. We were talking and laughing. One friend touched my elbow from behind, and she quietly asked me if we could talk. Sure, now? She said no, when everyone goes inside. I nodded, understanding she was seeking a private conversation. When the others were ready to go inside, I said I wanted to stay and look at the stars for a couple of minutes. My friend volunteered to stay with me. Once everyone else had gone inside, the two of us sat on large rocks that were out of direct light. And looking away from me at the ground, she began sharing. She told me she was afraid she might be pregnant. She was really scared, and she was uncertain about what was going to happen, and she wanted to know if she decided to go to an abortion clinic, would I go with her? And I entered one of those moments where you have 1,000 thoughts all at the same time crashing through your brain. I recognized what it took for her to ask me. She was scared. I knew she was closer to some of our other friends, but I knew why she might have feared their response. I was in my second year of college, and I had come to college as a Pentecostal. I know, right? That was a good one, too. And while I was moving away from more evangelical traditions, if asked, I would have told you I was pro-life. My understanding of God and theology and the world and my friend crashed into each other at that moment, as though they had been caught in a massive ocean wave. And when everything hit shore, I found my previous commitment was not sufficient for that moment. I was being asked by a friend to stand by her as she made a choice about what would be next in her life, and I knew I wanted her to have a choice and to be supported. I said, of course I will. She needed my support, she needed my compassion, and she needed my car. This gets important. I was one of the few members of our group who had come to school with a car. And there were things I want to unpack about that, but I will in a few moments. When my friend asked me if I would go with her, it was at that moment that reproductive rights became about more than a bumper sticker debate between pro-choice and pro-life in political camps. It moved from a commitment to a personal identity to a commitment to a person in front of me. Can or should a woman be allowed to make a choice to end a pregnancy? This is often the extent of our political and social consideration of reproductive freedom. It is, we find, one of the most difficult things to talk about because we've been handed an artificial debate with two sides talking about different things. On the one side, we're told pro-life people want to save the life of babies. On the other side, we're told pro-choice people value respecting and supporting women's agency over their own bodies. But I call this debate artificial because when this is all we are given to consider, we're missing important depth. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to explore depths and challenge our own understanding in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And as I've mentioned in previous sermons, those aren't just nice words. Freedom and responsibility are serious commitments that we bring to our search for truth and meaning. We're free to try on new ideas, consider new possibilities, even to be, like our Unitarian and Universalist spiritual ancestors, heretical. We're also responsible for ensuring we have truly listened, truly questioned ourselves as well as others, verified our sources, especially these days, and considered how our conclusions about truth and meaning affect us, those around us, and our planet. Despite popular misconceptions, it's not just the case that UUs can believe anything and just call it Unitarian Universalism. UUs seek truth and meaning within the bounds of our commitment to freedom and responsibility. So what does this have to do with the moment my college friend asked me if I would be willing to take her to an abortion clinic? Well, I hadn't yet encountered Unitarian Universalism, but I found myself grappling with how limited our bumper sticker politics can be when faced with real people and real needs. I found myself called upon to be both more free and more responsible in discerning truth and meaning in that moment. Of course, this is what many women have been talking about for decades. It's the core of the reproductive justice movement. Consider that phrase, reproductive justice. Sometimes that phrase gets conflated with abortion rights, but it's an oversimplification and indeed a misuse. Reproductive justice is specific terminology coined by 12 women of color in 1994 who had attended a conference on population and development in Cairo, Egypt. At that conference, people from around the world recognized that the freedom to plan one's own family is central to strengthening the development of nations. Afterwards, these women of color stayed in touch with one another and continued their discussions about the limits of health care reform as proposed by the Clinton administration. They were troubled by the Clinton proposal because it did not guarantee access to abortion, nor did it take into account many other needs they were seeing in their communities. They also recognized that the pro-choice movement, at least as it was often publicized, also did not have a strong understanding of how reproductive rights are inseparable from issues of social justice and human rights, especially as they affect women of color and others on the margins of society. This group came to call themselves Women of African Descent for Reproductive Justice, offering the world a new phrase and a new framework. So what is this framework? What is reproductive justice? One group explains it this way. Reproductive justice exists when all people have the social, political, and economic power and resources to make health decisions about gender, bodies, sexuality, and families for ourselves and our communities. Reproductive justice aims to transform power inequities and create long-term systemic change, and therefore relies on the leadership of communities most impacted by reproductive oppression. The reproductive justice framework recognizes that all individuals are a part of families and communities, and that our strategies must consist of entire communities in order to support individuals. So let's unpack that just a little. As individuals, we have varying degrees of reproductive health. This is how one's body is doing and is a fairly complex system that informs one's ability to reproduce. There's also a community level of reproductive health. What factors in our community have gone into our ability to reproduce? As individuals living alongside others, we also have a certain set of reproductive rights. If we assume that humans have the right to control their reproductive health, just as they have the right to control and make choices about other areas of their health, then this is where politics comes into play. How is that right supported or restricted by the government? We can find endless news articles reporting on bills in various states that are shifting or restricting these rights. We know that in 2022, Roe versus Wade was overturned, and there are hosts of other bills trying to further restrict reproductive rights, including attempts to create a pregnancy registry. We know that here in Ohio, the legislature keeps trying to overrule the amendment passed in Ohio to protect abortion access. In Kentucky, performing an abortion is a Class D felony, and almost all of them are banned, putting the lives of those who are pregnant in jeopardy. This is where we focus our conversations almost all the time. But a reproductive justice framework calls us to take a broader look at these issues. Reproductive justice takes us beyond individual choice and looks at the entire system. When people say they are protecting choice, reproductive justice advocates are likely to ask, choice for whom? If we establish and maintain the legal right to end a pregnancy, who's able to take advantage of that right and make a choice? And will the choice be equally free for all people? Remember, reproductive justice exists when all people have the social, political, and economic power and resources to make health decisions. So let's start with social power. Social power is the power we have with our peers and in society. Consider a woman who is in college when she gets pregnant and who wants to continue the pregnancy and become a parent, but her family and friends and others tell her she's foolish, she'll ruin her life, she'll never graduate, etc. Does she have the social power to make a true choice? Does that change if she's afraid that everyone will turn away from her? If her parents refuse to continue paying for her college, if she's going to waste it anyway? If her health care providers don't communicate with her openly and honestly? If her professors have classroom policies that favor child-free students? Moving on to political power, in this woman's situation, is there access to a wide range of legal options? Does she have adequate and affordable health care? In the United States, carrying a pregnancy to term is dangerous. The U.S. is ranked last among wealthy countries for maternal mortality, with 22.6 deaths per 100,000. And for Black women in particular, the mortality rate more than doubles. A woman is 4 times as likely to die during pregnancy or while giving birth than people in Greenland or Iceland, and twice as likely as people in Canada. By contrast, some research has shown that abortion is 14 times safer than giving birth. So what does it mean to be pro-choice in light of those statistics? Even if the legal right to abortion were preserved, can a woman make a free choice if our systems neglect the well-being of pregnant women to such an extent that abortion is 14 times safer than carrying a pregnancy to term? We have to ask whether we've created an environment in which each woman can make the choice to end a pregnancy or continue a pregnancy, knowing that her choice is supported by the political system she lives in. If she continues the pregnancy and parents, perhaps as a young single or parent experiencing poverty, will there be a social safety net to support her? Will politicians point to her and others like her as a sign of social decline and a problem to be done away with? Will they assure she can access quality daycare and education options for her child? Will they protect her if an employer discriminates against pregnant and parenting people? Will they make decisions that protect the water, the land, the air quality, and other aspects of the environment that she and her child will live in? These aren't questions just of individual choice. They are questions of political power, and they're questions of justice. So what about economic power? Remember when I mentioned I was the only person in my friend group who had a car? We were in Kansas, and my friend knew that if she needed an abortion, we'd have to drive 3.5 hours to get her to a clinic. In our state economic system, without public transportation and comprehensive local health care, I had a lot of power over her ability to make this decision. That wasn't a matter of her personal choice. Another aspect of economic power in reproductive matters is a family's financial ability to raise a child. Statistics tell us that 60% of those who have an abortion are already mothers. And if a woman with 3 children is pregnant, does our economic system ensure her family will have the resources to support another child? Or will she experience pressure to give the child to a wealthier family? Our modern welfare system grew from state mothers' pension programs. These programs were intended to support single mothers so they would not be required to work full-time outside of the home and could focus on raising their children. Of course, mothers they expected to take advantage of this were white. Women of color, particularly Black women in our country, have always been expected to work. So when it became clear they and their children were also benefiting from the system, an anti-welfare movement grew, and the myth of the welfare queen was born. During the Clinton administration, changes to the welfare system allowed states to cap the number of children in a family. If a woman had a child while she was on welfare, there wouldn't be any additional support for that new child. 22 states adopted such laws, and several still have them. If a new baby would result in less food for the children one already has committed to caring for, is legal access to abortion fully protecting choice? And is the choice to place a child for adoption truly a free one? The reproductive justice framework calls us to dig deep and ask hard questions. Reproductive justice is intersectional. It recognizes the intertwining issues of racism, sexism, heterosexism, poverty, ableism, and neglect of the environment. And it's so much more than just pro-life or pro-choice. And there are many organizations across the United States that advocate for reproductive justice. Let's talk about one in particular, the Mother's Milk Project. This project was organized by Kathy Cook, a Mohawk Native American midwife and activist. She coined the term first environment to talk about the fact that a womb is the first environment in which each of us lives. One author writes, "This project is grounded in the centrality of women's bodies and birthing in Native American culture. A woman's body is seen as the first environment and is not separable from the external environment. With this understanding, reproductive rights struggles are part of struggles for sovereignty and land. Degrading the health of mothers and their children is organically connected to the degradation of native lands." The Mohawk people have been faced with serious contamination of their lands by General Motors at the St. Lawrence River. It is a site that was declared a Superfund site by the EPA. For the Mohawk people, protesting the actions of General Motors was in part a reproductive justice struggle. As Winona LaDuke explained, General Motors tainted the land, water, and ultimately the bodies of Mohawk people, their babies included. For Native American women, environmental justice and reproductive rights struggles intertwine in the body of each person. Katsi Cook and other women created the Mother's Milk Project in 1985 to understand contaminants in the local food chain, including mother's breast milk. Katsi convinced scientists to help investigate the level of toxicity in breast milk and in the mothers and infants themselves. But when the results came back, Katsi found that the members of the project didn't have the knowledge they needed to interpret the results the scientist presented. In this case, reproductive concerns were intertwining with environmental concerns and education concerns. Again, we see how justice issues are inseparable. In response, the project trained about 125 Mohawk women to be health researchers and advocates. And based on research finding dangerous levels of chemicals in the body of pregnant and nursing people who ate fish from the contaminated St. Lawrence River, the Mother's Milk Project then encouraged them to stop eating the fish, despite it being central to their culture and way of life, and a great loss. So think about it. Educating women about scientific research techniques, integrating knowledge of a cultural food tradition, those are not actions our news sources would typically highlight in the pro-life, pro-choice debate. As Unitarian Universalists committed to working for social justice, we are called to this understanding that social justice issues are complex and intersectional. Racism connects with economic justice, environmental issues connect to sexism. To value reproductive justice, or really any area of justice, we must get comfortable talking about racism, economic inequality, environmental issues, education needs, sexism, ableism, and so much more. Our UU values call us to create and nurture sustainable relationships of care, respect, mutuality, and justice. And we seek justice because we value life on this planet, and we value the children who have yet to come into this world. We want to create a more just, more compassionate reality for them. Striving for reproductive justice and giving people true choices about the role they will play in bringing about this future is central to living out our UU values. And if you are called to this particular area of justice work, I encourage you to further your own free and responsible search for truth and meaning by connecting with organizations that are already out there, such as the Ohio Women's Alliance, particularly those agencies led by and working with marginalized communities. And when the topic of abortion comes up in your lives, consider stepping past bumper sticker slogans and steering the conversation toward deeper realities of justice. My beloved spiritual companions, as we move through this spring season, a season of new life, let us commit to being pro-life, attending to the environmental, social, political, and economic realities that enable people to thrive. Let us commit to being pro-choice, working together to create a world where every person is supported in making decisions about their bodies and their own futures. Let us turn away from the debates we have come to expect and commit to the people in front of us and all around us, listening especially to those on the margins, following their lead and striving for justice. Amen. Blessed be.
Our last hymn is in the Teal Hymnal, 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. We're going to sing all the verses. After each verse, you go back to the very beginning, and then after we've sung all the verses, we go back to the beginning, but then we flip to the ending. It makes sense, yes.
Holy
where sorrow, joy. Let us strive more to comfort others than to be comforted, to understand others than to be understood, to love others more than to be loved. For it is in giving we receive, and in pardoning we are pardoned. Go in peace, go in love. Blessed be.